Exactly, yes. You don't have all the answers, but you have a lot of the answers, I'm sure, a large number of them.
And
Yes.
by the way, those
Yes,
answers
please.
are not ours, they're from others. We just provide them the platform.
Exactly, right. Now, one of the buzzwords, there are many buzzwords out here, but ICT, Information Communication and Technology, there are workshops being held in every state of the United States, every province, every republic probably, every country, and some are major international conferences. How does this whole, well, first off, how do you define Information Communication Technology, ICT, and how does that plug into what you're doing?
So ICT, by the way, tends to be used in very different connotations around the world. But when you step back, technology is used in our everyday lives in so many different ways that we are no longer able to count for it. Even in the developing world, technology plays a huge role. Some of the new emerging markets have come up because of access to cell phones, for example, access to new media. So suddenly this growth is taking place, an exponential growth of technology. And the good news is that even the developing world is seeing the benefits and the power of new technology. One of the best initiatives, which have been led by the Secretary General of the United Nations, is to say we need to figure out how we can use ICT for development. The Secretary General is going through the process in the United Nations Secretariat building, is upgrading its facilities using modern technology to make it more efficient. The Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union and the Director General of UNESCO set up the Broadband Commission last year and brought together leaders from around the world to think through how broadband, which is high-speed internet, how that can be used to deliver health systems, education systems, issues surrounding climate change, water, sanitation, etc. That is actually a path-breaking report which came out last September. And I would recommend that that serves as a blueprint for action where not just governments, but the private sector should explore joint initiatives. We in the developed world are so accustomed to broadband and high-speed internet that we don't think about it. But actually in the developing world, to download a film will take them 59 minutes.
59 minutes.
59 minutes. Whereas for us, it takes less than 90 seconds.
Quite a difference. Quite a difference. Now, if our viewers are interested in this report, how would they access it? Can you go to a certain website, Google a certain title, or how would they get to it?
Yes, it's very easy. It's broadbandcommission.org. But if they did Google or Broadband Commission, they'll find that. There are two reports. One, a comprehensive report, which includes a plan of action, and then there is an executive summary. It's available in several languages. And the Secretary General of the ITU, Dr. Hamadoun Touré, has been the sort of pioneer and the creative leader of this, actually. And we're thrilled, and I'm honored to be working with him and his team.
Now, you mentioned this private-public relationship, which is extremely important. Everybody has a role to play. No one group can do it by themselves. You have to work together with, everybody has to be a team to a large degree. When you were at the United today, and back when you were with the United Nations Office for Partnerships, that was your main theme, and you worked with a lot of, I guess, innovative, creative visionaries. I think one of them that comes to mind is Ted Turner. And Ted Turner was the founder of CNN many years ago, and that revolutionized the market, I guess, and communication market to a large degree. What role did Ted Turner play in helping to foment or foster this idea of a public-private partnership?
Oh, Ted Turner changed the United Nations. He came to the United Nations with a very simple goal. I have some surplus funds, and I want to share it and put it in the service of humanity. He did not have any interest except to say, how can I help? What we did was we used his gracious donation and helped bring together private sector, what we call non-state actors, so civil society, private sector, to work with the United Nations family. Moreover, it helped the UN family to work together. So for the first time ever, the doors were opened in a comprehensive and substantive way to do some of these programs on humanitarian causes, on children's health, on women and population issues, on biodiversity, and even on peace and security related issues, where you'd get UN system, governments, companies, and leading NGOs work together. So he's actually changed the way we do business. And I am proud and privileged to have been associated with that program. That's how the UN is now. The new UN is about partnerships.
And as I recall, he, at that time, this was over 12 years ago, he was worth $3 billion, and he donated $1 billion, 1/3 of his total wealth, to this particular project, and made the announcement at a United Nations Association of the USA's dinner, and it, of course, was earth-shattering, just absolutely reverberated all around the world. What role do you think Ted Turner played as far as challenging other people such as Bill and Melinda Gates with Microsoft and other philanthropists, billionaires, millionaires, who maybe could play a larger role helping to create this better world?
You know, he changed the mothership around, the supertanker.
Changed course.
Absolutely. And the way he did, it was very elegant. He came in and he said, look, I'm ready to give part of my wealth, a major part of my wealth, to help make a difference to the underprivileged. There are a number of others who were already doing it, but it gave them new ideas. Bill and Melinda Gates, through their foundation, were already doing great work. They came to us and said, we have some ideas in terms of how to address health-related issues. And we want to help you as the UN family, help you address it from a prevention, from a training point of view, not just curative. And that's very smart. We want to help you with research. We want to address the problem once and for all. So the Gates Foundation has been wonderful from that perspective. It's provided much needed research funds, for example, for HIV/AIDS and other diseases. The Global Fund for AIDS, TB, and Malaria has the strong backing of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. A number of other foundations came to us and said, well, if you work with Ted Turner, why can't you work with us? We are doing similar things. So the best thing that happened was other foundations came and we put together a more broader coalition of these groups. So it became, and it's part of this concentric circle, ever expanding. And it continues to grow. And we're very grateful for the support we get. And I say it, we as the international community, the American culture of giving has no comparison anywhere in the world. The American public contributes well over $310 billion, $310 billion, which is bigger than the economies of many, many developing countries. 15% of that goes abroad to overseas programs. And what we need to recognize is that kind of culture should be spread around the world.
And they're certainly doing that to a large degree. You mentioned the Gates Foundation. They have contributed also, I think around I may be off on my figure, over $250 million to the United Nations World Health Organization, Rotary International, the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, to combat polio and other childhood diseases. That brings up another whole different group, non-governmental organizations such as Rotary International, Lions International. How do you partner with these people? I know Rotary, for example, has 33,000 Rotary clubs, 1.2 million members around the world in over 200 countries and territories. That's a huge network. How do you partner with these people? We'll take Rotary or Lions or whichever one you choose.
Oh, we love the way Rotary operates. Rotary International has been one of the strongest and earliest supporters of the work of the United Nations. They have been accredited with the United Nations since the UN was born, by the way. So the Rotary International program on polio is exactly the type of model we want. Through its global network and its partnership with World Health Organization and in fact the UN Foundation. So it was Ted Turner, Bill Gates, Dr. Brunton, who was the Director General of WHO, and the President of Rotary International came together at the United Nations way back in September 1999 and said, we need to address polio once and for all. And now, as a result of that effort, it started with a $150 million campaign and grew exponentially. Rotary has actually helped attract well over 600 million to that program. And we are now at that last mile. That model, by the way, needs to be highlighted. And Lions Club, for example, what it does, Kiwanis and others, these are all networks of people who are committed to making a difference. They're leaders in their own communities. And what they also could benefit with is, how can they get engaged internationally? Everybody believes that we help our neighbor, but we help others as well.
Exactly. And they're all international organizations. It is Rotary International, Lions International, Kiwanis International, and they're all international. And of course, they deal with problems and issues in their own communities, which is normal, but they think internationally, and that's very important. Well, we're just about out of time, and there are two other groups or two other initiatives I want to touch on very briefly before we run out of time. One is the Pearl Initiative. What exactly is that?
Thank you for mentioning that. The Pearl Initiative is actually a private sector-led initiative from the Gulf region. And we are so thrilled that companies are coming together and saying, if we are to make a difference downstream, we must become more transparent, more accountable. And if we are more accountable, we'll attract more funding from others, new investors. And what we're saying is, when you do that, we also want you to do partnerships to address the Millennium Development Goals. And I'm thrilled that well over 100 captains of industry from the Gulf region and probably half as much from outside have expressed an interest in coming together to address these issues. So they're committed to the UN goals, but they're also committed to doing better in business.
Mm-hmm. And this is so critical. It is absolutely critical to involve all of the players. Now, there's one other, maybe we can mention very briefly in the last minute or so. We were starting to talk about this, and I may have it wrong. Is it the IDP Foundation? Okay.
Thank you.
It sounded fascinating. Tell us
this
more
is a
about
great
it.
initiative.
What does IDP stand for?
So IDP stands for the Irene D. Pritzker Foundation. It's a foundation which started essentially to address education issues. As we all know, if the child receives good education, she or he learns better, earns better, and becomes a member of society. And it has a direct impact on peace and security around the world. So I have to say that Irene Pritzker, along with her daughter Liesel, have been doing wonderful work in Ghana. They're advising the government of Ghana on how best to address some of the challenges in the bottom of the ladder schools, at the poorest of the poor. Empower the owners of those schools, not just through grant making, traditional grant making alone, but also helping them train teachers, building parent-teachers associations, and then on top of that, provide them microloans to run it as a proper business. So thank you for asking. This is this is a classic model we want to pursue.
Right. There are many avenues of being involved and getting involved. And of course, the Global Partnerships Forum, the organization that you found, and people can go to globalpf.org and get more information about it, and I'm sure that they will. But Mr. Amir Dossal, I want to thank you so very much for a very interesting program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on South South News.